correct these questions. So we're in chapter 3. We're going to do the workbook corrections, page 64 to 67. I'm going to start with number 6. So we're going to read it together. Everybody's with me in their workbooks. And they've got it in front of them and they're reading. William borrowed a book from the library. The book is late. He must pay 10 cents for each day that the book is late. So now 10 cents, let's be careful because 10 cents is written as 0.1 or 0.10. So let's just pay attention to that. And then let's consider the relationship between the number of days and the fine that he owes. Now one of these is going to be your independent variable and the other one will be your dependent. So one, the number of days, and the fines he owes, one of them being independent and one of them being dependent. The first out of these questions that I will do, the way that I like to do this, is I'd like to look for this guy here. Find or write the rule. Just by this here, just by my word problem, I can find the rule. So he must pay 10 cents. So really what's happening is only if he's late will he pay 10 cents. If he's not late and he hands that book in on time, he pays 0. Nada. Nothing. Niente. Yes?
It says the book's already late. So he has to pay 10 cents.
Will borrow a book that the book is late. He must, yes, but they're going to say how many days. So now the question is, if he's late 2 days, how much will it be? Okay, so we're just going to go look for the general rule. So what is the general rule? The general rule is going to be, and I'm just going to place it right here where it's obvious, 0.1x equals y. Now just looking at this rule, I can tell that it's proportional. How can I tell it's proportional? How can I tell it's proportional just by this rule? Who can tell me? Yes. It's at 0. There is no initial value, so it's proportional. Now, with this rule, I can find the table of values. With this rule, I can find the table of values. How? I'm going to replace the x by 0. Then I'm going to replace it by 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what am I talking about here? If I'm late 0 days, how much will it cost? If I'm late 1 day, how much will it cost? So right now, what I've actually identified was the independent variable. And the independent variable is the number of days. So to be specific, when they say what's the independent variable, you have to say the number of days. Number of days is my independent variable. The number of days is my independent variable. Okay? And therefore that leaves our dependent to be what he owes, the money that it'll cost him. So the fine. So my dependent is the fine. Okay? Clear? Now, how do I get my y's with this rule? Well, I'm going to put the rule right here and put 0.1 and x equals y. And if the x is 0, so if I'm not late ever, my y is going to be $0. If I'm late by 1 day, I'm going to pay 10 cents. If I'm late by 2 days, I'm going to pay, 20 cents, and so on and so forth like this. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Now, when I look at this graph here, the graph has an x-axis and it has a y-axis. The x-axis is always my independent variable. We need to label this. What do we label it? Number of days. What do we label the y? The fine or the money that it's going to cost. And here's my 0, 0. And because I know that it's going to be proportional, my line will look like something like this. So at 1, let's say I do it at 1. So at 0, it's 0. At 1, we have 10 cents. At 2, we have 20 cents. At 3, I'm just spreading it out a bit, 30 cents. Some of you are going to cram it all here. Won't be wrong. 4 will be 40 cents. And if I were to do this now, find my coordinates, it would look like this. And if I had a ruler, I'm sure somebody's going to lend me their ruler, I'm going to connect the dots and get a straight line. Okay? And then we should have a title here. Anybody know what the title could be? What could this title be? Late library books. Late fees. How about that? Late fees. Okay? So far, I've answered question A, independent, dependent. I've done the table of values. I found the rule. I graphed. And the last two questions that I want to answer are C and D. C says, what is the total cost of the fine after 25 days? Again, when you're doing this test, I want to see the rule first. I want to see the rule. And then I want you to plug in the x with 25. So it's 0.1. 25 days late equals how much? $2.50. And that's how much he will pay for 25 days late. Good? The next question says, what if I paid $9? How many days could he actually be late? A lot. So I would again, I need you to do this. I need you to write the rule again. So 0.1 x equals y. And what do I know this time? Not the number of days, but, yes, the amount of money, which is $9. So I'm going to replace the y by 9, and I'm going to work backwards with all the algebra that Miss LaPena taught you for like a month and a half. How do I remove this 0.1? How do I isolate, leave x by itself? Well, I'm going to divide, miss. And I'd be, you're so great, I love you. And then you would do 9, and you would take your calculator and do 9 divided by 0.1, and you are able to be 90 days late. Perfect. So this question answers letter D, and this one questions letter C. So C and D. This might be on your quiz. Number 7. So I'm going to 7 where Matt downloads legally. Is this okay? Yeah, this should be, right? So Matt legally downloads songs for $1.50 each. Consider the relationship between the total cost and the number of songs. Determine the independent and the dependent. What do I normally like to do first? What do I normally like to do first? I like to write the rule. So I'm going to go down to F where it says write the rule. I'm highlighting. I'm going to find the rule right away. I'm going to put the rule right here. So what's the rule? Again, it's a proportional situation. Why is it proportional? Why is this proportional situation? Yes? No initial value. There is no cost unless he buys a song. If he doesn't buy a song, it costs him nothing. So it's proportional. Therefore, there will be no initial value, and the rule will look like this. Now, you could put $1, or you could put 1.5x, or you could put 1.50, whatever makes you happy and comfortable. Let's say I do 1.5x equals y. Again, this is what a rule looks like when it's proportional. With this rule, I'm going to look at my table of values. So I'm like, hey, here's my rule. What if I didn't buy any songs? What if I bought one song? Oh my God, how much would it cost for 2 songs? And really, that's all you need to find the rule and to be able to graph. I'll go one further. So I'll have 4 coordinates. And I'm going to take this rule, bring it here, 1.5x equals y. And I'm going to replace the x and see what the y comes out to be. So if I have no songs, it's going to cost me how much? $0. Oh my God, what are we talking about here? Here we're talking about number of songs. And here we're talking about money, the cost. And now, just being very clear with this, I can go back to the independent and look, oh yes, I was right. I was thinking this might be it, but I wasn't sure. Now I'm really sure because X is my independent. Remember ID, your ID. Independent being the X, so it's a number of songs. So I can go back here and just say, yep, independent is songs and the dependent variable is the cost. Are we okay with that? So that's $0. How much is it going to cost me for one song? $1.50. 2 songs, so it's $1.50 times 2 is $3. And 3 songs would be $4.50. And then I would plot that on my graph. I would label both the x-axis and the y-axis. Make sure that we say that the x is the number of songs down here. You're going to lose marks on tests. Over here, we're going to write the cost, money. Please put your unit, what it's going to be. And then your graph really depends on how you want to break it up and the intervals that you use. But let's say every second one, I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to go up by 50 cents. So I'll go 0.50, $1, $1.50, $2, $2.50, $3, $3.50, and so on for $4.50. It could be a little different than mine. You could be going up by $1 or $2. This is how I'm going to break it up. I do know that it's going to start here. I love it. I know it's going to be what type of question? What type? It's a proportional question, therefore starting at 0, going up. So at 1, I'm looking at $1.50 right here. At 2, I'm looking at $3 right here. And at 3, I'm looking at $4.50 all the way up here. And connecting it will give me a straight line starting at the 0. So I'm not looking at the students behind me, but I'm assuming everybody's on task. If you have a question, you could ask me. This is so far most of what we need. The last 2 questions that we are going to answer are these ones here, C and D. We need to use the rules to get the answer if you want to get marks. So how do I get this? Well, I take the rule. Once again, I take the rule. I put a 1.5x equals y. What's this, 30? Is that my x's? Or is this my y's? 30 songs. It's my x. So I'm going to replace my x by 30. And I'm going to use my calculator to get the answer of $45. Make sense? And then the trickier one is when I get the y. Because we have to use a little bit more algebra. So here's my rule. I always start with the general rule, which I'm going to move over like this. Always start off with the general rule. Replace my y by 2250. So far, so good. And what am I going to do to remove the 1.5? Divide by 1.5. And that'll give me the amount of songs I can afford with $22.50. Can anybody do that? Evan? Just use your calculators. 15 songs. Boom! Question 2 is done. Could be this one that's on your test. Could be this one. Do you understand? Can you get full marks? Will you be able to answer each question? Next, we're going to number 8, where Nancy is a physiotherapist. So, Nancy's a physiotherapist. She earns $225 plus $25 per person she treats during the week. Consider the relationship between that. So, again, this girl, Nancy, goes to work. And while she's working, she might have no patience. She might be reading a book for a whole week. But her boss has to pay her. He can't make her sit there and not pay her. She'll never come to work. So she gets a base salary of $225. But every patient that walks in, she gets $25 if she treats them. So what would be the rule? The rule would be, because this is the one that's going to change, this depends on how many patients she gets. Please note, that's the one with the X. So 25X. And this is the one, no matter what we call the initial value. The one that does not change. No matter what, she gets 225. And then you put the Y. So for 1 mark, you get the rule. I'll be very happy. With the rule, of course, comes the rest. So now I'm looking at my rule, and I'm saying, these are my X's, these are my Y's. What's 0? What's 1? 0 what? If I get 0 patients, how much do I make? $225. Even if I have no patients. Therefore, it's not proportional. It will not start here. Bad. It won't start there. It'll start higher at the 225. If I get 1 patient, so look, I'm going to rewrite my rule. 25x plus 225 equals y. And now I'm going to say, what if x is 1? So I'm going to add 225 plus my 25 gives me 250. And then what if I had 2 patients? Now I have $50 plus 225, which then brings me to 275. And some kids ask me, Miss, can I just continuously add $25? Absolutely. So once you figured this out, you can just do that. But how did I get this? I'm not sure why this is moving so much. How did I get this was by using the rule. Is that okay? Now I'm going to go back to answer question A. Determine the independent variable. Remember that X is independent, Y is dependent, and what are we talking about here? The number of patients. And what are we talking about here is her salary. And so when I look at my graph, I can see that my X, which is my independent, I would call it number of patients. And I would look at my Y and write salary. And then I would fill it up. And don't forget, we need a title. What title would we call this?
Nancy's paycheck.
Yeah, Nancy's paycheck is great. Nancy's pay for the week. For the week. Nancy's salary. And then moving forward, I'm going to decide, again, I think I'm going to spread it out to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'll spread it out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start at 225 here. But I'm going to put a little, just a little crooked line that has a name. Miss, does it have a name? This little breaking the graph? Breaking the graph. Sounds like the movie Breaking Bad. No, okay, breaking, it's a show. Okay, so breaking the graph. I'll try not to be funny while I'm on video, okay? I'll tone it down, my comedy routine. So breaking the graph with that little squiggy. I call it squiggy, but hey. And then what that means is there's a big jump from the 0 to the 225, but then from the 225, I'm going to go consistently up by, and you know what, I'm going to choose the 25. I'm going to go 225, 250, 275, 300, 325, etc. So at 1, it was 225. At 0, it was 225. At 1, it was 250. At 2, it was 275. At 3, it was 300. And at 4, it was probably 325, right? Yes. Taking the rule that somebody lent me, thank you so much. I'm going to connect the dots, which will have to be straight. Boom. And have we noticed where it starts? Does it start at 0? No. So it is not proportional. Which two questions am I going to answer now? C and D. I'm going to use the rule to answer them. I'm going to write the rule right here. 25x plus 225 equals y. I'm going to replace the x by 20 because my x is my patient. So 25 times 20 patients plus the 225 that I get for being there equals, and you're all using your calculators to get me an answer, 25 times 20 plus the 225, $725. That answers letter C. And then I'm going to answer letter D, which is a bit more difficult because we have to use algebra. Ready? So I'm going to write the rule again. 25x plus 225 equals y. This time, what do I know? The y. They're telling me the y is 975. So look at this rule and look at how I'm going to deal with it algebraically. How do I get rid of the 225? Put it on the other side as a minus 225. This should not be a shock to anybody. So 975 minus 225 is? 750. And how do I remove the 25 that's stuck to the x in a multiplication? You divide it on the other side. So 750 removes that and leaves you with x is equal to 30. 30 patients to make 975. Now, is that something that we would need to know in real life? Yes. Maybe her visa bill that week was $975, and she wants to know how many patients she has to treat to pay off her debt. So when you all ask me what do we need algebra for, there it is in black, green, yellow, blue, orange, and white. Okay, I'm talking for nothing. Let's move forward to number 9. Let's look at number 9. Another real life situation going on. Love it. Taxi driver. So a taxi driver charges $3 to sit in his taxi. Even if you go nowhere, if you're sitting in his taxi, you owe him $3. The minute he starts to drive, he charges 50 cents a kilometer. Consider the relationship, the total cost of taxi ride, and the number of kilometers. What would I do first? Me personally, I would do the rule. So I'm going to go down to letter F and the rule. Is this a proportional situation? No. Why? Because there's an initial value of $3. So we're going to see what the rule looks like. 0.5x, that's my 50 cents per kilometer, plus the initial value of $3 equals y. Because the cost of what it's going to cost me for that taxi ride. In this case, they fill my table of values with all the independent variables of x, which happen to be the kilometers in this case. And this is the money that it's going to cost me for depending where I go, where I travel, how far I go. So determine the independent. Independent is kilometers. Dependent is mula, or y. We have to write it on our graph, the x and the y axis, the x being kilometers, the y being money, the cost. And is it going to start here? Never. Not for this situation because of this initial cost. So now when I look at this, I have to replace my rule, my x's, by these numbers. So I have 0.5 plus x plus 3 equals y. My first x is at 0. It's going to cost me $3. My next one, if I go 1 kilometer, I will pay $3.50. Oh, it doesn't say 1 kilometer. It says 10 kilometers. So how much will it cost me? 0.5 times 10 plus 3. $8. How about for 20? Do 0.5 times 20 plus 3 is $13. And please find out what the next two are for me. Using your rule, what would be after 13? 18. And after that, $23. I'm going to start right here using my breaking graph at $3 because this is where it's going to start, $3. Right here it's going to start. And then I'm going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and I'll stop there. And I'll go 10 is at 3, and this should be 350, 4, no. What are we going to do? We're going to go by $3, we'll go by $2, $5. Maybe we should go by 5s. We'll go by 5s every second one. So this will become 8. Then 5 after that will be 13. And then 5 after that will be 18. And then 5 after that will be 23. Okay? So as long as these are going up by the same amount, and make sure that it makes sense with this. Yes. Did I do a mistake? Pardon? It says low battery. Oh no. Okay. We'll go till the battery dies. Actually, can you go get me my it's stuck to the wall? Let's see if we can put it somewhere here. Okay, good. We need a title. Taxi ride fees. Good. Taxi fees. Taxi ride fees. Money we have, kilometers we have. What do I really need to now go through is questions C and D. These are my two most important questions because I am adapting the general rule. I'm adapting the general rule to a specific situation of 45 kilometers or if I had $33. So how do I do that? I take my rule of 0.5x plus 3 equals y. And then I'm going to put 45 where the x is, because that's my kilometers, plus 3. Can somebody give me the answer of 0.5 times 45 plus the $3 that I initially paid? Anybody? What's this going to equal to? How much? Okay, so 25.50 plus 3, or is that your final answer, 25.50? Final answer is 25.50. Exactly. And how far can I go with $33? How far can I go? How many kilometers can I go? Well, I'm going to use my rule, 0.5x plus the 3, and I'm going to make it equal to $33, and then I'm going to use algebra minus 3 and get 0.5x equals 30 divided by 0.5. How many kilometers can I go? 60 kilometers. Boom, done. Good. I'm moving forward to page 66, number 10. I know it's a bit boring today, but you guys are doing great. Let's go to number 10. And what if, did you guys do 10 yesterday with me? No? So what if I give you a few minutes to try it out, and then I'll be back right after these messages. Sounds good? Okay, so just, Vince, just press, click, just click it. Yep. This was a trickier question, and not the typical question that we've been looking at. A bathtub contains 180 liters. What is that in my rule? It's my, you know, what is the 180 in my rule? What would you think it is? The initial value. We start with 180. We start with 180. So if I look at my rule, the plus 180 is here. And then it's going down. How do I know it's going down? Because it says the word empties. And when you go down, what do you think is going to happen? I know it says it's going down by 20, but what do you think the 20 is going to look like? More like a negative 20. So when I look at this, which is my my rate of change, how it's changing at the same time, remember the common difference, it's by going down minus 20. So negative 20x plus 180 equals y. If you got this rule, that's amazing. If you did not, it's understandable. But there's not going to be too many situations that go down. But if it starts at 180 and you see that, let's say it's money going down from your account, or you lost weight, those are all situations where there's a negative here. What I've seen kids do is do 20x minus 180. So be careful, because that's not right. That 20x minus 180 is not right. It's going down by 20s, and it starts at 180. So now if I look at my table of values, x and y, what are my x's? What are my x's? They are the, what is it? Yes, but it's independent, but it's? Is it the liters or is it the minutes? So let's say if I have 1 minute, it becomes how many liters are left? So these are 0. So at 0 minutes, I have 180 liters in my bathtub. In 1 minute, I'm draining. It's going to go down to 160. In 2 minutes, 140. In 3 minutes, 120. Do you see how the graph is now going down by 20? It's going down by 20. And here, what are we talking about? Minutes. And what are we talking about here? Liters. Now I can tell which one is independent and which one is dependent, because x is always independent. So I'm going to put my minutes here. I'm going to put my liters here. And my graph, is it going to start here?
Yes.
At 0? 0, 0? No. It's actually going to start up here at 180. I'm going to pick the highest point and go 180. And then it's going to go down, because it's emptying from 180 and it's going down. So I would make this 160. And then I would make this 140. And then 120. Okay? And then you would see with after 1 minute, after 2 minutes, after 3 minutes, after 4 minutes, etc. And so the rule, or the graph, sorry, would look something like this. Okay? And now, I'll just show you how I got the 160, by the way. I took the rule, negative 20x plus 180. I replaced the x by 1 minute. And then I did negative 20 times 1, and this is where I get 160. Yes?
How come you don't put the dots on the back?
I didn't, but you could, and it's better that you do. Well, you would just go 1 at 160. 2 is at 140. I just didn't do it perfectly. Okay? And so on. So what did we do? We did this question, we did this question, we did the 2 last questions, we answered the independent. What's left are those 2 famous questions. One is going to give us the x and one is going to give us the y. So let's do this algebraically, correctly. Are you watching? Is everybody watching from the back? Minus 20x plus 180 is my general rule. The question asks after 5 minutes. Which one is my minutes? The x or the y? The x. So I'm going to do negative 20 times 5 plus 180 equals, yes?
Let's just continue to write.
You could just continue the graph. Definitely you could just continue the graph. But I would like to know if you know how to do this algebraically. Okay? 80, positive 80. So there's 80 liters left. So when I answer that, how many liters? 80 liters left. Boom. And if there are 20 liters, okay, so please pay attention carefully to this question. I have still my general rule of negative 20x plus 180 equals y. The x is not given to me, it's asking for it, but the y is telling me 20 liters. So what happens? How many minutes? Okay, so let's do this properly. Watch. What do I do with the plus 180? Bring it over as a negative 180. Do I have to remove this 180? Do I have to cross it off?
Yeah.
Yes, because I brought it over. It is no longer there. So now I have negative 160 left, and I have a negative 20x. How do I remove the negative 20x? You divide by negative 20. And how do I show that I removed it?
You cross
Cross it off. And what am I left with? X is equal to a positive 8. 8 minutes for it to go down to 20 liters. Okay, guys. Suivant, I'd like you to do 11. And I'm going to give you a minute to do 11. So 11 says Matthew making $15 per hour fixing bicycles. We all agreed that it was going to be a proportional situation, which means that if he sells none, he makes nothing. So consider the relationship between his salary and the number of hours he works, X being the number of hours he works, and Y being the amount of money that he earns. So his salary, money earned, money dollars, voila. I'm going to go to letter C where it says what is the rule. Hopefully you all realize the rule was 15x equals y with no initial value. Looking at the table of values, I'm going to replace the x with 1. So 15 times 1. So at 0, he makes 0. At 1 bike, he makes $15. At 2 bikes, he makes $30. Algebraically, it's 15 times 1, 15 times 2, 15 times 3 is 45, etc. Looking at the graph, I'm going to title it Matthew's paycheck, Matthew's salary, Matthew's cost, or no, Matthew's earnings. We're looking at the x-axis being the number of hours, so here it is. We're looking at the salary of money here on the side, salary, and that's the y. At 0, we make 0. At 1, we make 15. At 2 bikes, we make $30, so it's right here. At 3 bikes, we make $45. At 4 bikes, it moves to $60. I use my ruler to connect the dots. I have a straight line starting at the 0, which tells me it's a proportional situation. I have answered the independent and the dependent. I have answered the table of values, the rule, and now the two famous questions where we use our rule and we adapt it. We do 15x equals y. In the first one, we have the x, so 15 times 25 equals, I don't know, can somebody do that? How much? 375. So we made $375. Oh, it's per hour. I was thinking it was per bike. It's per hour. I apologize. It's per hour. It's not how many he sells. It's $15 per hour. And then if he makes $390, which looks like this. This is the one that confuses students. This is the one you have to pay attention to. It's 15x and it's the y, sorry, this is equals 390. And algebraically, we remove the 15 by dividing it by 15. And what do we get? 26 hours of work. So again, I don't know if I confused you because I thought it was per bike, but it's per hour. Hours being your independent. Therefore, the more hours he works, the more money he makes. And specifically for 25 hours, he makes $375. And if he wanted to earn $390, he had to be at the store for 26 hours. 2 questions left. Number 12. Sarah rented a car for a trip to Toronto. The rental company charges an initial fee, $60, and $25 per day. Who thinks they know the rule for this? Yep. Yep. Oh, I love it. 25x plus the 60 initially equals my y. That is so great, guys. This is definitely on tests and exams and final exams and Christmas exams and etc. They are always there. Now it says determine independent. Make a table of values. I like to go where the rule is. I did it. I then like to do my table of values just to make sure I know what's independent and what makes sense. Does it make sense for 0 what? 0, we're going on a trip, 0, 25 per day consider, so it's 0 rental. So we're talking about 0 what? Hours? Days? Yes, we're talking days here, and here we're talking cost of the rental. So this makes sense. 0 days would cost me $60. And for 1 day, I would pay the 60 plus the 25 is $85. How do I get that algebraically? 25 times, let's say 2 now, 2 days is 25 times 2 is 50, plus your 60 is the 110. And it goes on, it goes up by, you can just go up by 25 here, or you can start doing the rule. So it's 135. Make your graph. Will I start at 0, 0?
No.
No, I'm going to start at 60, my initial value. Is it proportional? No. I'm not going to do this graph perfectly. All I'm going to do is show you that it starts at 60 and it goes up at a constant rate. The rule was done at 25x plus 60. And now let's answer those 2 questions that are specific. So I'm going to take my 25x plus 60 equals y, and I'm going to replace my x by 9. 25 times 9 plus 60 equals, I don't know, $285 to drive around for 9 days. And now I want you to look at this question. Everybody's eyes are on the smartboard. Everybody's eyes are on the smartboard. What do I have? I have $260. We have the cost is Y, so I'm going to replace it by 260. Is this okay so far? Yes? How do I remove this plus 60? Bring it to the other side as minus 60. Remember to remove it. So now I'm left with 25x equals 200. How do I remove the 25? Divide by 25, and that leaves me with 8 days. How many days? 8 days. Boom. Well done. Number 13. Last question of the day. I will choose 4 of these questions for your quiz. Number 13, Leanne joined a cooking class. She must pay $50 registration. $50 registration is what? What are we talking about in our rule? Yes? The initial value, yes. So the initial value is 50. And what's the $30? It's your rate of change. So we do 30x plus the initial value. So here's my rate of change. The initial value is 50 equals y. So that's the rule right here. 30x plus 50 equals y. I'm going to make this x, this y. This is my independent. This is my dependent. What are we talking about? We're talking about per lesson. So these are how many lessons, and this is how much it's going to cost me. So it depends on how many lessons I give or take. The cost will be dependent on that. So at 0 lessons, she still pays $50. If she took 1 lesson, it's $50 plus the $30, so it's $80. 2 lessons, another $30, so we're at $110. And 3rd lesson would be at $140. All we did was add 30 here. Of course, we could use our rule and fill in the x with all of these numbers. Will my rule start here? No. It'll start at $50. And then we can go up by 10s or 20s, like say, let's go by 20s. So 70, 90, 110, etc. And what's going to happen to my graph? It's going to be straight, but starting at 50, it's going to be straight. Okay. Now you guys, please remember title. Remember to label your x-axis. Remember to label your y-axis. And what happens at 12 and what happens at $500. You have to be able to answer those 2 questions. Here goes. I'm going to answer them for you. What is the total cost of 12 lessons? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is write 30x plus 50 equals y. The x is at 12, so 30 times 12 plus 50. Can somebody help me out? Is it 860?
40.
Oh, sorry, that's $410. And the more tricky one, which I'm going to do right here, is 30x plus 50 equals y, and we know the y is 500. So how many lessons will I be able to take with $500? I'm going to minus the 50, which is 450, and divide by 30. 15 lessons. So x is equal to 15, which is the 15, how many lessons? 15 lessons. We're done for today.